you're looking at crude oil going up to probably 2.25 to 250 area. Russia has never, not even once, all right, sought to conquer Europe.
Do I have something for you today? I've got Martin Armstrong, armstrongeconomics.com. There's lots to get into. And really, I said to Marty, I want to talk about your conference. It's coming up in Orlando. You can get it, in person or online. That's November 21st, 22nd, 23rd, armstrongeconomics.com. Marty, I happen to get you on a busy week. On Thursday, you were just publishing a peace plan for Russia. And I've got to ask you a little bit more about that. What the heck happened there? Because you had to stop everything else you were doing for a few days and put that together.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. I was called into a briefing, and I was asked if I would write a peace plan for Russia. Mm-hmm. I was actually shown also the KGB file on JFK assassination. It was about that thick. I asked them, I said, is this clandestine or something, and they said, no, it's sanctioned. And they actually said to me that given what the government did to me, I end up having more credibility.
Yeah.
In the sense that nobody, they don't see me as a plant or something like that. So it's been an interesting week, to say. I think, honestly, what I had posted may have scared the shit out of them. Mm-hmm. My experience with government is they never open up a history book. And just as there are no mirrors in government, we're always the problem, never them. And I explained to him. I said, when Khrushchev had to back down from the '62 Cuban Missile Crisis, a coup took place. Brezhnev overthrew him, and we got a harder line Cold War. I said, when '91 came and communism collapsed and Gorbachev came to power, I published in a book that it's on Amazon, The Plot to Seize Russia, because I was in the middle of all this crazy stuff. I had the declassified documents from the Clinton administration, which showed that Russia was invited to join NATO. Now, put your Russian hat on from their neocon viewpoint. They staged a second coup and overthrew Gorbachev. That's when Yeltsin had to stand on the tank and everything else. From their perspective, that would be a surrender of Russia to the American neocons. Right, wrong, or indifferent. It's mm-hmm. People act according to what they believe. And so I warned them. I said, if you think you can put sanctions on and do everything you possibly can and force Putin to surrender, you people never look beyond the length of your nose. Mm-hmm. And an example of that, you can go on YouTube and you'll see Tony Blair's apology for the Iraq War. He says, we thought we were freeing them from Saddam. We didn't realize we were subjecting them to more sectarian violence. This is the problem with these people in power. They have zero understanding of the next step. Saddam, okay, fine, a dictator, same as Assad and Gaddafi. However, you needed them because the people there are tribal. They don't see themselves as all Iraqi or Syrian. Mm-hmm. It's Sunni versus Shiite versus Druze versus Kurd. It's not unified. So in that case, you had dictators that prevented them from killing each other. I mean, the same thing with Tito in Yugoslavia. When he was gone, Yugoslavia broke up. What did you get? You got ethnic wars. This is part of the problem. if you don't understand the culture of the people you're dealing with, you're an absolute loser.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, they think, oh, if forcing Putin to back down, what will come after that? All right,
Yep.
you already had Medvedev come out and admit, and I cannot disagree with him. He said these latest sanctions are an act of war. He's correct. All right, the British counterfeited continental currency during the American Revolution. Hitler counterfeited British currency.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Napoleon did the same. You always try to undermine the economy of your adversary. It is economic warfare. Let's call it, a spade here. And so I did this report. I went through, look, here's all the history of interaction with Russia. Russia has never, not even once, all right, sought to conquer Europe. It's always been the opposite way. Sweden tried conquering Peter the Great. You had Hitler. You had Napoleon. Why? Because Russia is the richest country in the world from a natural resource perspective. If Putin were to invade Europe, what does he get? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They have to get their energy from Russia. They have no gold and no rare earth. Okay? He's going to walk into Paris and they're just going to say, you're going to pay our pensions now. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no economic benefit to this. And that's why Europe has never been invaded by Russia. That's the plain historical fact. You had NATO always projects this. And why? Because they were using Khrushchev's words, we will bury you.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't economic. He was a real believer in Marx. He really thought communism was going to surpass capitalism and capitalism would all collapse by itself. He was wrong. It was communism that collapsed by itself. All right, but it was a philosophical issue, not an economic one. All right, Putin is not a communist, and he's not an oligarch. All right, he is more practical,
Mm-hmm.
and he's laid down many, many red lines. You give them long-range missiles, that's it. We cross it, and he does nothing. I spoke to Ukrainian military. They initially were told just to go to the border, and the order to invade the Kursk region, that came from MI6. So it's always been NATO, and I've seen the internal memos. NATO should have been shut down when communism collapsed. They were there basically as the pawn against the Warsaw Pact. Okay? And so they have to keep saying, oh, Putin wants to invade Europe, so give us more money and we'll protect you. That's basically what it is. Mm-hmm. They got their pensions and everything else, and it's a retirement home for warmongers. That's it. They're not there to create peace. They don't want peace. If there's peace, then why you need them?
But the
so that's basically what it is. So,
well, I'm looking at what's interesting is you have your conference November 21st in Orlando, and again, people can live stream it or attend in person. I love going in person, but here's the thing: can you imagine how much could change between today, and 3.5 weeks out? Like it is it feels like an unusual circumstance. We're seeing it measured in the markets. Gold's move and gold's retraction, silver's spike, retraction, everything. So you'll obviously give further updates on what's going, because the impact for capital flows are huge with these kind of events. If it's peace, there should be a dividend, I would suspect, and if there's not, and if it's escalation, there's also repercussions.
Yeah. Plus, you have Europe clamping down on with capital controls.
Mm-hmm.
This past week, if you're going to go into the EU or leave, you must reveal all your bank accounts. They will probably shut down Bitcoin over there. Um, I'm getting information that they'll most likely even shut down the ability of people to buy physical gold over there. They'll probably cancel the currency, the paper currency, and forcing everybody into CBDCs maybe by January. Why? Um, they're already, even the Express newspaper in Britain has come out and about, you know, you better not, try to dodge being, drafted. You'll be shamed. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they're all preparing for war at this stage. Everybody. The euro on our computer model has like a panic cycle for 2026. And so does the international war cycle. And you already have the UK and France finance ministers hinting that they may need an IMF bailout.
Mm-hmm.
Europe is a basket case. They need war desperately. And if they, and they're going to manufacture it one way or another. And they need a diversion because otherwise their economies are collapsing. And the alternative is if they don't have an external enemy, the people are going to grab their pitchforks and storm the parliaments. Mm-hmm. You're talking about pension funds going out, the banking system. Europe was never designed properly. They wouldn't consolidate the debt. So here in North America, bank reserve is the federal debt. There is no federal debt in Europe. So for argument's sake, let's say France goes down, like Greece did in 2010. The traders will immediately start looking at all the banks who has the most French debt. So now you're looking at shorting the banking system over there. And then the pension system. The whole thing is really a house of cards. It is so dangerous. And this is why don't have anything in Europe, because you may not be able to get it out. And just look at the charts from World War I. They shut down even the London stock market. All the stock markets were closed. Why? So you couldn't sell anything. Mm-hmm. You're trapped. All right. If Europe had lost, that's all gone.
Yeah. Let me ask you, with the conference, I want people to know what you're doing there. So you're going to go through all the different specifics, like what the stock market, your numbers are, what the numbers are for gold, numbers are for silver, numbers are for oil. You get the idea. Of course, you are the pioneer in global analysis and capital flows, literally the pioneer in looking at how these kind of international events come home to roost domestically, and how money moves. You mentioned earlier on there's a panic cycle coming up. This is from the Socrates model that has this exceptional record of chronicling these major shifts and major changes. Are there other shifts coming up, say, in the next year? Are you looking at 26, which of course you'll forecast for, but give us a little preview. Are you looking at some trouble in 26, or are there a couple dates that jump out at you that you'll be keeping an eye on as we get toward them?
Yeah, pretty much across the board. I think oil 25 will probably be what we would call a cycle low. Mm-hmm. And I would expect oil to start moving back up after this. Although we've been above the $100 level intraday, you've never had an annual closing above 100. Mm-hmm. Once that happens, honestly, by the time you start looking at around 28 to 30, you're looking at crude oil going up to probably $2.25 to $2.50 area.
Wow.
So it's. I mean, you're putting, Trump's putting these sanctions on Russian energy. You remember those little stickers they had with Biden, pointing to the gas price? Yes. I did that. Well, they're probably going to, redo them with Trump, I think.
Yeah.
this is the problem, and I think why I end up getting called in, because we've had offices around the world, so I've had to wear the hats of every country to look at things from their view. And if you can't do that, then you have no business in this industry, because everybody acts out of what they believe.
Mm-hmm.
And even Julius Caesar said that 2,000 years ago. You know, people, act what they, do what they believe. And if they don't believe in it, then they don't. But it doesn't matter if it's right, wrong, or indifferent. So it's, I think we're just looking at a serious situation here. On top of all this, you have the sovereign debt crisis. And then you have these idiots over there preparing for war. Interest rates rise during war, period. Okay? And, they're just going to default. There's no way to pay off any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're borrowing year after year with no intention of ever paying anything off. Eventually, what happens is the rolling this debt, the interest accumulates to the point where approaching 70% of the national debt is because of war and interest rates, not helping moms and pops and building roads. And, the interest expenditures will exceed military defense expenditures. It's not sustainable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is why, as I say, I'm looking forward to going to the Outlook conference, your World Economic Conference. And again, I'll give the date again, November 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Travel to Orlando. It's great there, by the way. You meet people from all over the world. You get to see Marty and meet him, who's been all over the world. But, and also, if that's not possible, travel schedules, et cetera, then you can join them online. All the information is on armstrongeconomics.com. Marty, I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks for taking time today.
Well, this is our 40th anniversary of these WECs. I can't believe I've been doing it this long.
You do it because it works, and you've done such a great job. Thanks, Marty.
Well, thank you. Be glad to see you again.